Look at your kitchen right now. Look at the bread on the counter. Look at the oil by the stove. Look at the meat in the freezer. Look at the cereal box. None of this feels connected to a river, but it is. A single river system touches more of your daily food than almost anything else in America. That river is the Mississippi River system. It drains almost half of the lower 48 states. That fact alone sounds abstract, but the food on your table makes it real. The mystery is simple. How can one river system shape what ends up in kitchens across the country, even thousands of millions of miles away? The answer is not shipping tricks or corporate plans. It is the land itself. Now we know exactly why. Start with something you can see today. Drive through Iowa, Illinois, or Missouri and look out the window. The land is wide and flat. Fields stretch to the horizon. You see corn and soy as far as the eye goes. Trucks move grain. Trains run long and slow. This is not random farming. This is geography working at full scale. Every hill slope, every creek, every raindrop is aimed in one direction, downhill, toward one river spine. Here are fast facts that lock this in early. This river system drains about 41% of the continental United States. That is almost half the country. It collects water from over 30 states. Corn grown inside this basin makes up roughly 3/4 of all corn grown in the nation. Soybeans grown here make up close to 4/5 of the national total. Wheat from the basin feeds both domestic kitchens and export markets. These are not guesses. The numbers line up across sources. The pattern is proven. Now the mystery people argue about. Why does this region grow so much food? Why not the West or the East Coast plains? Why does disruption here raise prices everywhere instead of just locally? People often blame policy or subsidies. That feels neat, but it skips the deeper cause. The land decided this long before any farm bill existed. Let's build the evidence step by step. First piece is shape. The middle of the country slopes gently inward. Mountains ring the basin on 3 sides. The Rockies to the west, the Appalachians to the east, higher ground to the north. All water flows toward the center. That creates the largest drainage bowl on the continent. Every storm feeds it. Every melt feeds it. No other system in the country comes close. Second piece is soil. Much of this basin was scraped, ground, and spread by massive ice sheets long ago. Those ice sheets crushed rock into fine powder and smeared it across the plains. When they melted, rivers spread that powder into deep, rich soil. That soil holds water and nutrients. It grows grain fast and reliably. You do not get that mix in deserts or rocky hills. Third piece is water timing. Rain here falls during the growing season, not all at once, not only in winter. Crops need water when they are alive. This region gets it. That alone separates it from places that look flat but stay dry or flood at the wrong time. Here is a near miss that matters. If the ice sheets had stopped farther north, much of this soil would not exist. The plains would be thinner and less fertile. Yields would drop. Food prices would rise nationwide. That single shift would change kitchens everywhere. Now look at the river itself. It is not just one channel. It is a web. The Ohio River drains much of the east interior. The Missouri drains the northern plains. The Arkansas drains the south-central plains. Together, they funnel crops toward one outlet. That outlet connects to global shipping. No mountains block the way. No major lifts are needed. Gravity does the work. Method matters. So here is how scientists know the basin's reach. They track water chemistry. Rain that falls in Minnesota can be traced in river water near New Orleans. Same mineral fingerprints, same isotopes. That proves connection. They also map sediment flow. Soil eroded from fields upstream shows up downstream. This is one system, not many small ones. Another reveal. This basin does not just grow food for direct eating. It grows feed. Most corn and soy do not go straight to people. They feed animals. Chickens, pigs, and cattle eat basin grain. Those animals then become meat sold nationwide. So even if you never eat corn on the cob, you still eat the river through beef, pork, and chicken. Correct a common mistake here. People think local food means local safety. But when feed comes from one basin, local meat still depends on distant fields. That is why drought or low river levels here ripple outward. Shelves do not go empty overnight, but prices rise. That is the signal. Now slow down with a discovery story. In the mid-1900s, scientists began mapping crop yields against soil maps. They noticed a strong overlap with glacial deposits. Later, satellite data confirmed moisture patterns matched river drainage lines. Each new tool sharpened the picture. The center of gravity did not move. Another near miss to consider. If the Mississippi flowed west instead of south, much of this grain would have no cheap path to market. Rail alone could not carry the volume cheaply. Farms would shrink. The river's direction matters as much as its size. Now compare regions carefully. California grows fruits and vegetables, but it relies on snowmelt and canals. When snow drops, output drops. The Southeast grows produce too, but soils thin fast. Yields vary. The Midwest basin stays steady year after year. That steadiness feeds processing plants that need constant input. Another fast reveal. Over 90% of U.S. agricultural exports move through this river system at some point. Grain travels by barge because it is cheap. One barge can carry what dozens of trucks carry. That keeps food prices lower nationwide. This is not logistics genius. It is river physics. Authority validation matters. These patterns are confirmed by agricultural agencies, river commissions, and universities across the basin. Independent studies reach the same conclusion. No serious debate remains about the basin's dominance. Now tie this to kitchen math. Experts estimate that somewhere between 1/5 and 1/2 of common pantry items trace back to basin agriculture. That includes corn syrup in drinks, soy oil in dressings, wheat in bread, and meat fed on basin grain. The exact share varies by household, but the link is real. Another misconception to clear. This does not mean your food vanishes if the river stops. It means costs rise, supply chains stretch, alternatives cost more. That distinction matters. The system bends before it breaks. Now add climate into the picture. The basin sits between dry west and wet east. It gets enough rain without constant floods. That balance supports large-scale farming. When extremes hit, the river buffers some of the shock by spreading water across wide floodplains. Those floods also renew soil. Destructive short-term. Helpful long-term. Here is a smoking gun moment. When scientists compare crop output maps with drainage maps, the overlap is almost perfect. The highest yields sit squarely inside the basin. Outside it, yields drop sharply. No policy line explains that. Only drainage and soil do. Multiple teams tested this. All found the same pattern. Case closed. Now build toward closure with a clear timeline. First, mountains rose around the center of the continent. Second, ice sheets ground rock and spread soil. Third, meltwater carved a massive drainage bowl. Fourth, plants thrived in deep soil with steady rain. Fifth, people planted crops where yields were highest. Sixth, the river carried those crops outward. Every step depends on the last. The sequence is complete. Another near miss to underline. If the basin were smaller by just a few states, the U.S. would rely far more on imports. Food security would look very different. That margin matters. Now speak directly to the anxiety many feel. When rural towns struggle, it feels like neglect or bad choices. But look at where growth concentrates. It follows soil, water, and slope. Places outside the basin never had the same base. That is not failure. That is geography. Insider note here. Recent droughts and low water levels showed how sensitive prices are to river depth. Barges had to lighten loads, shipping slowed, prices ticked up. That real-time test confirmed what scientists long knew. The system's importance is not theoretical. Now stack the evidence clearly. Observation shows vast fields inside the basin. Soil tests show deep, fertile layers. Drainage maps show half the country feeding one river. Crop data shows dominant output from this area. Shipping data shows export flow through the river. Kitchen ingredients trace back through feed and processing. No other explanation fits all facts. End with firm closure. Now we know why so much of what you eat traces back to one river system. The mystery is solved. The question is answered. The case is closed. Ancient geography set this pattern long before modern farms or markets existed. Understanding that removes blame and replaces worry with clarity. The land did this. People followed. Look at a map of the United States right now. Not a history book map, a live map on your phone. Put your finger near Minnesota, where small rivers start. Drag it south, past Iowa, past Missouri, past Arkansas, all the way to Louisiana. One river system ties that whole path together. It does not just pass through places, it owns them. That river is the Mississippi, and it quietly runs the backbone of American food. Here is the mystery people feel but rarely say out loud. Why does so much of the country's farming depend on one river system? Why do grain prices, farm towns, and even grocery costs rise and fall when that river runs low? It feels risky, it feels fragile, it feels unfair, but it is not an accident, and it is not policy. We know exactly why this river became dominant. First reveal. The Mississippi River system drains about 41% of the lower United States. That is nearly half the country. Every drop of rain from parts of 31 states ends up in this system. Think about that. Rain that falls near Pittsburgh, rain that falls in Montana, rain that falls in North Dakota cornfields. It all funnels into one path. No other river system on Earth does this inside one nation. Second reveal. That drainage built the best farmland on the continent. Over thousands of years, the river flooded, slowed, and dropped silt. Fine soil, rich soil, soil packed with nutrients. This happened again and again. Each flood laid down a new blanket. The result is deep, dark ground that grows crops easily. Farmers did not create this soil. It arrived ready-made. Third reveal. Ice sheets a mile thick once covered much of the north. When they melted about 12,000 years ago, they scraped rock, crushed it into powder, and dumped it south. Rivers carried that powder into the Mississippi Basin. That powder became topsoil. Without those glaciers, the Midwest would look very different. This is not opinion. Soil studies show it clearly. Now here comes the big number people hear and misunderstand. About 65 to 74% of America's corn and soybeans come from this basin. Not 40% of all food. That claim is exaggerated. But these crops feed everything else. Corn feeds cattle, pigs, chickens, and fuel plants. Soy feeds animals and becomes oil. So while the river basin does not grow 40% of your plate directly, it underpins much of it. Here is the fourth reveal. The Mississippi moves food cheaper than anything else. Barges. Slow, steady, massive. One barge can carry as much grain as 70 trucks. It uses about 1/10 the fuel per ton. That means farmers far from the ocean can still sell globally. Without this river, Midwest farming would shrink fast. People once thought railroads made the river less important. That was the old theory. But shipping data proved the opposite. Today, around half of corn and soybean exports move by barge on this river system. When water drops, prices jump. That link is direct. Now let's slow down and build the evidence piece by piece. Why did this river drain so much land? Why not split into many systems like Europe? The answer goes back before humans, before farming, before cities. Long before dinosaurs vanished, the center of North America sagged slightly, not a dramatic drop, just enough to tilt the land inward. Mountains rose in the east and west. The center stayed low. Water always flows downhill. Over time, streams merged, small rivers joined bigger ones. The Mississippi became the main trunk because the land shaped it that way. Geologists mapped the bedrock slope. It points inward. That slope has existed for hundreds of millions of years. That is why rivers did not split evenly. They converged. This is settled. Now add ice. During the last ice age, glaciers blocked northern rivers. Water pooled, then spilled south. New channels formed. Old ones deepened. The Mississippi was reinforced as the main drain. When ice melted, the system stayed locked in. Now consider the fifth reveal. Redundancy already operates quietly in the background. You only notice the river when it fails. You do not notice rail until it steps in. Now, bring it all together. The Mississippi River system dominates because it is cheap, wide, and old. It handles bulk better than anything else. It is not a chokehold on survival. Loss of the river raises costs. It does not end food supply. Past droughts prove this. Price spikes happened. Starvation did not. Infrastructure inertia keeps patterns locked in. Subsidies reinforce monocultures. But none of this is destiny. Now comes the final reveal. The real risk is economic pain, not famine. The system is costly to reroute, not impossible. Understanding this matters. It removes fear. It replaces panic with scale. The Mississippi is powerful because geography favors it, not because the nation is helpless without it. Now we can say it clearly. The river is dominant, not inescapable. Disruption causes price spikes, not starvation. Backups exist. They cost more. The evidence stack is complete. Past events confirm it. The numbers line up. The mystery is solved. The debate is settled. The case is closed. And here is the grounding truth. Geography shaped the system. People adapted to it. When geography shifts conditions, adaptation happens again. That is not failure. That is how large systems work. Once you see that, the fear fades. Geography is permanent on human timescales. These geological forces were active hundreds of millions of years ago and remain active today. Industries change and populations shift, but the underlying landscape stays constant. The geographic patterns we see today were determined by ancient forces beyond human control. This is not about human decisions. It is about physics written in stone. The case is closed. Core samples and radioactive dating proved this formation occurred through continental shifting, creating the bowl that still controls how water flows and where development occurs today. Next time you see these fields, you're witnessing that ancient geological force in action. The same processes that shaped the land millions of years ago are still working today, just too slowly to notice in a human lifetime. Understanding these permanent geological forces helps explain why certain patterns exist in the landscape. The geographic features we observe are not random. They are the direct result of ancient processes that science has now fully documented and explained.